Hello everyone, I just want to thank you all for the 7 subscribers. It's my favorite number and thanks for supporting my channel. I made this video just to answer one question. Is Wazuh a legit software? And if you didn't know, Wazuh is an open source platform, which means it's free. It is a SIEM that monitors your endpoint's logs and also an XDR that can do active response against attacks. You can install Wazuh on a virtual machine hosted by a cloud provider like Linode, but that costs money. Alternatively, you can install it locally. Since I'm broke, I decided to go with the VirtualBox option. So I set up an Ubuntu virtual machine and opened the terminal and pasted this command in the terminal, and allegedly what this command does is installing a Wazuh installation assistant, and after the installation is complete, you would see your username and password, and if you're stupid like me and clear the terminal before you can save those credentials somewhere else, you can use this command to find all of the passwords you would need, and you would find the login credentials on the top of the message. Then you should type the IP address command and take your IP address and paste it on your web browser, then type the username and password. After that, I checked out the dashboard, and honestly it looks pretty dope, but I'll dive deeper into it once I add a Wazuh agent, and that basically means that we need to add an endpoint that we're gonna monitor. So I clicked on the deploy an agent button, and because we want to add an Ubuntu machine, we would choose the Debian64 architecture, and then you should put your server IP address, because I definitely didn't put my agent's IP address and wasted too much time on nothing. And then you can give the agent a specific name and assign it to a specific group, and then they gave me a command that I should run on the Ubuntu machine I've just created. So after the installation is done, run these little commands to activate the Wazuh agent. And just to be sure, I checked the status of the Wazuh agent and it is up and running. Back to the manager machine, you can see that we have one active Ubuntu machine, so I guess the installation was successful, and now we're gonna begin testing some functionalities. First of all, Wazuh claims to be able to do file integrity monitoring and malware detection, and I do not believe that, because there's always a catch with these free programs. But I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt, so we would try detecting and removing malware using VirusTotal integration, so we can be sure that Wazuh's creators are not lying to us. So first thing I did is open in the manager machine, and then I added these two rules in the local rules.xml file, and these two rules would alert about changes in the root directory. It doesn't necessarily need to be the root directory, it can be the downloads directory or whatever you want. Then you should save the changes and open the osec.configuration file, so you can add two blocks that would enable active response and triggers the remove threat script when VirusTotal flags a certain file as malicious, and you should also add this configuration to enable VirusTotal integration. And you need to replace this tag with an API key that you would get after creating a VirusTotal account and clicking on your profile, and then clicking on the API key button, and make sure to not share this key with anyone. And then after replacing that tag with the API key, exit the file and reopen the local rules.xml file so you can add some active response results rules, and then exit the file and restart the Wazuh manager with this command. After that, you should open the Wazuh agent terminal and open the osec.configuration file and search for the syscheck block with Ctrl+W, and make sure that the disabled tag is set to no so we can enable file integrity monitoring, and add a syscheck block and set real time as yes, so it would be continuously checking the specific directory. And like I said, it doesn't need to be the root directory, it can literally be whatever directory you want. And then update the system dependencies with the following command, and install JQ so you can process JSON input. So you need to create a file with the name removethreads.sh, and then paste inside of it this bash script. And don't worry, you don't need to actually type it, you can just copy and paste it from the description of this video, and then change the ownerships and permissions of the active response script we just created, and then you should restart the Wazuh agent. And then we would emulate an attack by downloading the icar.com file, and it is basically a type of file that imitates the behavior of a virus without it being an actual virus. And they made it so you can test antiviruses with it, but the installation of the file failed because I didn't have the cur tool, so I had to install it. Then I downloaded the file successfully, and then something weird happened. When I checked the root directory, the file was still there. I wouldn't call this exactly active response. And when I checked the logs, only the rule 100-201, so Wazuh knows that there is a modification to the root directory, but VirusTotal isn't being activated or used or whatever. So I rechecked all of the documentation, because maybe I forgot something, and as far as I know, I didn't do anything wrong. Maybe. So after asking AI too many questions and having such a terrible headache about the problem, my problem turns out to be a permissions problem of the VirusTotal file. So I navigated to the integrations directory and then listed the items and changed the permissions with these two commands, so only the root user can modify the file and everyone else would be able to execute the file. So I guess the main problem was Wazuh wasn't even able to execute the VirusTotal file. And then when I tried downloading the icar.com file once again, and this time I actually didn't find the icar.com file in the root directory, and all of the rules were triggered, so the active response worked. And maybe I made a mistake related to the permissions or didn't follow the documentation properly. I don't know, you tell me in the comments. So Wazuh has successfully beaten the allegations, but I also want to try blocking a known malicious actor. So basically there's something that's called IP reputation lists that we would use to block IPs with bad reputation before even getting attacked. So first thing you should do is update your system dependencies if you haven't already, and then install the Apache web server that would let us host a web server for free, and then check your firewall status. If it was disabled, just skip the next step, but I did it anyway just for demonstration. Then if it was active, list the apps and then allow Apache traffic to pass through the firewall. Then just make sure that Apache service is up and running. Then type the IP address command so you can know what is your IP address and paste it in your web browser. And as you can see, it is working. Then add this block to the osec.configuration file so it can monitor the Apache access logs, and then make sure to start the Wazuh agent. And back to the Wazuh manager's machine, open the terminal, and if you still haven't already, make sure to update your system dependencies and install wget utility and download the Alien Vault IP reputation database that I have already talked about, and then append your attacker's machine IP address with this command, and you would get your machine's IP by opening your attacker's machine terminal. In my case, it's a Kali Linux machine. Then type the IP address command and replace the attacker IP tag with that IP address. And then we would download a script that would help us convert the Alien Vault list from the .ipset format to the .cdb format, and then this command would actually convert the format of the IP reputation database, and then you can remove the reputation database in the old format and also delete the converting script because we wouldn't need these two anymore, and then assign the permission and the ownership to the generated file. And then you should open the localrules.xml file and add this rule with the ID 100 so you can trigger a Wazuh active response script. After that, open the osec.configuration file and press Ctrl+W just like the last time and type rule set, and then add this block, and then go to the end of the file so you can add this active response block, and you can change the timeout value. I'ma put 120 seconds inside of the timeout tag, and then restart the Wazuh manager and open the attacker's machine. And when I tried to connect to the website, it worked for the first time and the output was in HTML, but when I tried to do it a second time, it just didn't give anything because the attacker's machine IP address was blocked from accessing the Apache site. And when I opened the dashboard, you can see that the 651 rule that is responsible of blocking the IP address was activated, and then after exactly 2 minutes, the 652 rule was triggered and the IP address was unblocked, and the attacker's machine can access that website once again, but its IP address was blocked once again, and only after 2 minutes I can try again. I think you got the point. And Wazuh also claims to be able to do configuration assessment, so I clicked on the configuration assessment button and it is showing a lot of failed, passed and not applicable tests, and these tests are taken from the CIS benchmark. So I tried fixing some problems. The first one was the ensure mountain of cramps. I'm not sure how I should exactly pronounce that word, but I don't know. I just leave it that way. Ensure mountain of crafts file systems were disabled, and I just followed the remediation steps. First step was navigating to the modprobe.d directory, and the next step is creating a file with the name freevxfs, and it has to end with the .configuration, and then you need to open that file we just created and right inside of it install freevxfs/bin/false, and then you need to add blacklist freevxfs to the blacklist.configuration file. Don't need to add it to an already existing file. It just has to be ending with .conf. And then I restarted the Wazuh manager, but when I refreshed the Wazuh dashboard, it wasn't fixed, and another problem with the name ensure freevxfs kernel module is not available was fixed. So I think the remediation paragraph was mixed with another remediation paragraph or something. So I improvised a little and created a file with the name cramps.configuration and wrote in it install cramps/bin/false, and I appended blacklist crafts to the blacklist.configuration file, and when I restarted the Wazuh agent and refreshed the dashboard, it actually worked, and to be honest, I got so happy. And the next problem we have is ensure HFS kernel module is not available, and just from the name it's obvious that we need to follow the exact same steps, but I've realized that we can delete the past crafts and freevxfs.configuration files and create a unified file of all the services that share the same problem. So instead of each service like freevxfs and crafts having separate files, I can just make one file and call it every service.configuration, and this would have the same contents of the two last files, and I would add install hfs/bin/false and add blacklist hfs to the blacklist.configuration file, and then when I restarted the Wazuh agent and checked the dashboard, the HFS problem has been fixed. So I think it is safe to conclude that there is no need to create a file for each service, because that would be inefficient, and I think that these type of problems can be easily automated with a script in Python, because they got the same repetitive solution. But this is an idea for another video, and you can tell me your thoughts about this idea in the comments. And I do think that Wazuh has beaten the allegations successfully, and it is a legit program. And thanks for watching the video. See you till next time.